Councilor Anderson. Crowe. Condon. D'Angelo. DeMaria. Kinnon. Matheson. O'Malley. Zika. Spatafora. Murphy.
Here.
Representatives of the Master Planning Steering Committee are present to provide an update on master planning activities.
Yes, Master Steering Committee. We are very happy to have you here today. We'd love your representative to come to the podium, introduce yourself, and give us your presentation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for inviting us. My name's Chuck Ioben, and I'm chairman of the Malden Planning Board. This evening, we're going to give an update on the Malden Planning Board's Master Plan Steering Committee. The Master Plan Steering Committee is a subcommittee of the Malden Planning Board that was originally established in 2008 after the Malden Vision was prepared. And that is what was the impetus for forming the Master Plan Steering Committee, and then the Master Plan Steering Committee. And then the Master Plan Steering Committee then supervised the update to the Malden Master Plan that was finished in July 2010. You should have all received a package that has 3 packets in it. The main document that I'm going to be referring to this evening is the first one that has the city seal on it. There are 2 other packets in there. One is the Master Plan Steering Committee Charter, and the other is the Implementation Matrix, which is also Chapter 9 of the Master Plan from July 2010. But it's there for your reference in case you didn't have to bring the master plan if you have any questions. So moving on to page 2, the composition of the Master Plan Steering Committee. I am, in addition to being chairman of the planning board, I am also chairman of the Master Plan Steering Committee. The Master Plan Steering Committee is comprised right now of 10 members. There can be anywhere from 9 to 11 members. Per the charter, which is the second packet in your package, 2 of them come from the planning board, which is Patrick Hayes and myself, appointed by the chairman of the planning board. 2 come from the city council. 1 comes from the MRA, 1 from the mayor's office, 1 from the planning staff, and by the charter, at least 2 citizens would be also members of the Master Plan Steering Committee. In the instance right now, we happen to have 3 citizens on. You'll notice at the bottom, it says terms expire December 31st, 2016. Just want to reassure everyone that come December 31st, 2016, work doesn't stop. People can continue to serve until they're replaced. If someone is no longer on one of the boards or no longer employed by the city, they would terminate immediately and then would seek to refill that position. Okay? Moving on to page 3. What I provided here for you is 2 items. The first is the initial mission statement of the Master Plan Steering Committee Charter. It was generated in September 2008. As you can see, it was generated based on Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81D. And this version, at the time in 2008, it was created to move from the vision to the completion of the update of the master plan. We updated it, if you look to the bottom, in July of 2015. We updated the charge of the Master Plan Steering Committee. We updated that to include Following up on the master plan generated in July 2010, and following up on the implementation matrix. That's the biggest difference between the two. One of them, the top one's dated when the committee was originally generated, and the bottom one is the mission from the most current version of the charter, which you have a copy of. That's the second packet. Moving to page 4, the specific charge of the Master Plan Steering Committee is basically, and this references the third packet that you find in your package. The first thing we're charged with doing is developing plan of actions to complete the implementation matrix. We'll go over a little bit later what that means and what's included in the implementation matrix, but the charge of the Master Plan Steering Committee is to review that, prioritize that, and try to develop action plans for that, and meet with the appropriate people within the city to get them included in their operating plans and have that start to be accomplished. And these recommendations that we received as part of the master plan. Moving on to page 5. This is just a brief summary for you of some of the recommended actions and next steps that came out of the Malden Master Plan for Chapter 9. The first category were some general recommendations that were primarily 11 tasks that were advised to be done as part of the master plan. The second item was land use and zoning recommendations. In this, there were 3 recommendations made and 11 action items that were recommended. What we've been focusing on with the Master Plan Steering Committee is the 5 elements of the master plan. There are 29 sets of recommendations and 120 action items. Rather than try to boil the ocean and do all of them all at once, the approach we're taking is we've asked each of the members of the Master Plan Steering Committee to go through each of the 5 planning element categories and prioritize their top 3. And we're collecting that data so that we can, when we're finished, we'll have an idea which of the 5 planning elements people believe are more, that we should focus on first. I'm hesitant to say more important because each of them are a component of the master plan. So, but which ones we address first, we're going to have an idea of what members feel we should address first, and then within that, we're in the process of summarizing the various action tasks that we want to address first and develop action plans for and get those moving before we circle back and go through again until at some point either we revise the master plan or we finish the implementation items that have been identified. To let you know that in the past 5 or 6 years since we got the final version of the master plan in July 2010, it's not that nothing has gotten done in that time. The next couple pages give you some examples by planning category. What some of those items that have been completed in the last 5 years. And I'll run through a few of them. For instance, for transportation, Bike to See was completed. The Malden Walkability Committee was created. For residential development, we now have monthly public safety awareness meetings. We have a housing development incentive plan that was adopted. For economic development, the Mayor's Economic Development Advisory Committee Last year, you may recall that the Urban Land Institute came in and held a panel and produced a study for us for community facilities and public service. You look to implement the implementation of the 311 system, see-click fix, the new police station that's about to be finished, some of those items. Under natural and cultural resources, we have an open space and recreation plan, and we saw renovations of Waits Mount, South Broadway Park, which is now Howard Park, Callahan Park, and Quarterly Playground as some of the examples of things that have been accomplished over the past 5 years. As far as land use and zoning recommendations, over the years we've had various zoning amendments that have been ordained that encourage development in business and industrial districts. And under the general category, which you may apply, I mentioned that there was 11 tasks. The planning board adopted the master plan of July 2010. We submitted it to the state. So as far as the state of Massachusetts is concerned, we're in compliance that we have a master plan on file, which will stay on file until we revise it and replace it with any new plans. So it's not something that will expire on us and we'll find ourselves in some sort of jeopardy with the state. We presented the master plan of July 2010 to the city council, and we amended the master plan steering committee charter most recently July of last year, and reconvened the master plan steering committee to continue working with the recommendations and actions that were prepared. Moving on to slide 8, I'd just like to take a moment to clarify two actions that are going right now. One is the master plan steering committee, where the focus is on the master plan already completed. We are not currently working on changing the vision for the city. When you do the master plan process, you start off with what's the vision of the city, then you review and prepare studies on these planning elements and come up with a revised master plan. I just don't want folks to be confused that the moratorium study is part of what the master plan steering committee is currently reviewing. This is an effort that was undertaken by the Malden City Council, so we're not directing who gets hired, what they study, what the outcome is, defining the scope or anything like that. That's what the city council is doing, and it's not part of what we're currently studying. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean that the master plan steering committee may not participate in forums that may happen as part of the moratorium study, and provide information or advice or guidance or anything in some way participating with the moratorium study at some point down the road. I just want to make a clarification that currently that's not part of our charge. Okay. Moving to slide 9. What has the master plan steering, what has happened since the July 2015 charter amendments? First, what happened, and I'll just go briefly, it's just laid out chronologically. The planning board included the intention to reconvene the master plan steering committee in our annual report. So that was the first step that we said, this is something that we need to get back on and start moving forward and trying to accomplish what we can. At that point, the Malden Planning Board amended the Master Plan Steering Committee charter to update the current charge to work with the implementation matrix. We changed the residency requirement of the MRA participant, which had previously been they had to be a Malden resident. We updated that. And then we updated what the membership term expiration date was. So that was what happened, primarily what happened in our amendment of July 2015. After we passed it at the planning board, I assigned 2 members, Pat Hayes and myself, to the committee. Mayor Christensen identified a member of his staff, Maria Elise, to participate on it. Deborah Burke assigned herself to participate on it. Then Council President John Matheson assigned Neil Kinnan and himself as the council representatives for it, at which point we had 7 initial members. At that point, we started meeting, and the primary focus of what we were doing was bringing people up to speed, going through what occurred as part of the Malden Visioning, what occurred in the update of the master plan. We made sure everyone had copies of both. We went through them and tried to basically bring everyone's understanding of what has happened, what the master plan and vision currently said, and then what it is we were going to try to accomplish. We also spent some time deciding how we wanted to approach appointing citizen representation on the Master Plan Steering Committee. We went to the city councilors of those wards that weren't represented by people that were initially part of the committee by charter, and we got recommendations from them. We brought in the people for interviews, and we ended up appointing 3 of the people to the committee. One of the candidates pulled out during the interview process and wasn't able to move forward, but we did end up going with the other 3. Once we had a full team together, we met, we reviewed the implementation matrix so that people could become familiar with it. And that's when we decided that we would ask each person on the committee to go through each of the 5 planning elements and rank their top 3 priorities. Where we've got a couple members that we need to get that information from, and we'll be able to finish off that, and we'll be able to produce a ranking for each person's contribution and find out which of the action tasks that we are going to consider working on developing a plan and then meeting with the appropriate people to get it implemented into the day-to-day operations. Okay? If we turn to page 11, what are the next steps for the Master Plan Steering Committee? The first one is to finish collecting this information that we need, and then finish the table that's going to give us the tabulation of which tasks and actions we're going to follow up on first. And that's in each of the 5 categories: transportation, residential development, economic development, community facilities and public service, and natural and cultural resources. When we get the final list, what we will then use is committee members' expertise and knowledge of the city, and try to assign a preliminary owner or someone that we need to follow up with on the various actions that have emerged. We will then meet with those proposed responsibility entities and confirm that they agree that they own it, develop an action plan, complete timelines, and discussing implementing it into the day-to-day operations. if there are certain action items that can't be managed as part of the day-to-day and current operating budgets, we will then need to think about what we do and how we can assist the city in identifying or working up some sort of creative funding or some sort of source that has been overlooked, and try to help us assist the department managers in that respect. When we get all that done, so we will have identified what we want studied, met with the people who we think need to do it, and confirm it with them, vet everything. Then we will come back and meet with the city council, the mayor's office, and we'll have a public meeting with the citizenry to update them on the progress that we've made and what we're moving forward on study, to keep everyone in the loop and keep everyone updated on where we're going. Number 7 on page 12, I think is a key item that's in our future of what we need to do for the next steps. After we develop these action plans, I think the committee needs to monitor them and see, just so that it isn't something we did, we met, we passed it out, and then we never circle back and find out how folks are doing on it. Is it being accomplished? Is there proper funding? That type of thing. So I think number 7 is going to be a key item. And in conjunction to that, as they're off working on the items that we have prioritized, we'll go back to the implementation matrix and we will try to identify the next round of action tasks that we'll prioritize and then follow the same cycle process of prioritizing it, meeting with the people, and then try to incorporate it into their day-to-day lives. We'll also work with reviewing some of the general recommendations. When you get an opportunity to look at some of the general recommendations, it's things like developing zoning for the city. It's things like having studies done, evaluating some of the zoning we do have and possibly changing that. We'll review some of that information based on when the moratorium study's completed. We may get more information that will shed light on some of those areas and may provide some opportunities that currently we haven't looked at, that folks think we should be looking at and is a higher priority than what had previously been identified. The last one I'd say is number 11, which is another key item, is staying connected with what's going on in the city. There's a lot of entities that are out there doing studies, they're looking at things, they're trying to address issues, and what's going to be key is for us to keep our ear to the ground and to hear about these studies and initiatives and different things that are being undertaken within the city, and then at least understand what it is and how it may impact what we're doing. So I think that's another key item, number 11. And then just moving to number 13, which is the last slide. I won't keep you any longer than I already have. But I wanted to just put it on your radar screen. Ultimately, the purpose of the Master Plan Steering Committee is to work on updating the master plan for the city. And ultimately, down the road, a year or two down the road, maybe 3, we'll be looking at a comprehensive update of the city master plan. So that's something just to be aware of. It's not something that needs to be done this year or this budget cycle, but I think it's something that we should start thinking about, and as we look out a couple of years, start planning for what we want to do, what needs to be done, who's going to do it, that type of thing. But that's ultimately what the goal of the Master Plan Steering Committee is, from a broad philosophical perspective, is to update the master plan. Despite the specific charge we have, we're working on right now to try to move towards that future date. That's the presentation that I had planned. Is there anyone who has any questions?
Mr. Ivan, thank you very much. And I was just going to ask you if you would please stay at the podium. I have a number of lights on. If you wouldn't mind answering and entertaining a few questions from us.
Very
So
good.
starting from my left, it's either Councilor Cannon or Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate you coming to explain a lot of this great information. When I first joined the council, I was very happy to see that we did have a very comprehensive master plan with various options. I did attend a few of the early master plan steering committee meetings. I was happy that all of the various departments, the city, the MRA, the council was all very well represented there. The community was also well represented. As I kind of go through this, priority list, responsible entities, timeframes, I'm wondering, just to kind of pick out a few, it seems kind of clear who's responsible for some of these items. Do we have do you know what the time frame is when this would be completed? Because from what I'm looking at, it seems to be a lot of various departments within the city that the mayor would just have to say, hey, this is something that you need to accomplish over the next few years. These are your priorities. Some of them would be various commissions, like the Historical Commission. If we had a Parks Commission, that would be something that could take up some of these responsibilities. Should you kind of have like a rough timeline for when this would be completed by?
Well, what we first looked at that and tried to gain some momentum in doing as you proposed. And what we found was we didn't have the support at the time of bringing it in and bringing it down to the department level. So, in answer to your question, I would like to think that in the next few months, we will have this tranche of priorities that we're identifying, which is approximately 20%, I'm figuring it'll be 15 to 20% of that list. That will happen, and we'll have that accomplished in the next few months. If
Councilor Cannon.
Yes, to kind of help out Mr. Ivan. One of the challenges here is that the planning board adopted the master plan of 2010. The city council never actually adopted the master plan of 2010. And there was even disagreement at that time. What was adopted, and you certainly can correct me if I'm incorrect, but the planning board adopted the Small Squares Initiative, and that took the housing component up almost to the high growth level, whereas there was even then some disagreement on the council as to how fast we should grow, not knowing that we had already grown essentially from 56,000 to 60,000 people. The planning board had no idea of that as well when this was being done. So it would be hard for somebody to say you must do these things when the council didn't even ratify the plan. So I think that was part of the reason things didn't take off, perhaps.
that was certainly one of the reasons. There was some contention about what the results were, and then dedicating the resources and the commitment to that. Current mayor this is an important priority for him, and he has dedicated resources from the mayor's office and from the MRA to follow up, and that's a lot of the momentum that we're now seeing that we've gained over the past 8 to 10 months.
So, I mean, even if, and I'm glad to hear that there's the support finally for these type of activities. I think it's very important that we implement a lot of the ideas that you have in here. But even if in a state where you don't necessarily have support, I don't think it's don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think it's too difficult to figure out where the responsibility might lie. So like for instance, 4.1, rehabilitate and preserve existing affordable housing stock. I would assume that that would probably fall with the MRA, the Malton Public Housing Authority. If we were to, and I'm just going to go through a few of them. If you were to go to R 5.1, facilitate elimination of lead-based paint throughout the city. Again, that would probably fall with the MRA, PIPs. And then we go to E 1.1. Organize to strengthen existing businesses and attract new businesses. I think that would probably fall with Kevin Duffy, the Economic Development Officer. So I think, for me at least, on a high level, I know it's strictly a high level, you can get a good understanding of what departments at least would be responsible for a lot of this activity. Just got to kind of skimming over it.
I agree with you, Counselor, and if you look at pages 5, 6, and 7, those represent things that have been done. Now, some of the items that you, and I don't know, we need to sit down and just sort of match them up. Some of the items that you just mentioned may have already been done. What I gave you was out of the master plan that was the empty list of all 120 items. So what you have as packet 3 of your package is not the current state of where things are. We have several items that have been done. And as you said, the stuff that we could do that didn't cost anything, that was a matter of, yes, this is what it is. Some of that has been done. Where it gets a little trickier is when you get into some of the things where it isn't quite as clear. And also there's no funding to do what is being asked to be studied or the action item is. And that's where we're focusing now and trying to say, of those items that have not been started, what are the most important and how do we proceed forward to get the action item acted on?
Understood. I appreciate you clarifying some of those next steps. And then the other thing that I wanted to address is that I know in here you had said that there are kind of 2 things going on here. You have the master plan steering committee, which is evaluating how well or what we have done to adhere to the master plan that was adopted in 2010 by the planning board. And then there's also the moratorium study, which is going to be doing almost like a mini vision. At least that's kind of how I envisioned it when we were discussing this. I do think it's clear that the vision for Malden has changed. So whether or not the master plan actually lines up with what the city is desiring, I think that the population and the residents have sent a clear message that the master plan for the city does need to change.
Oh, it may be that is what comes out of the moratorium study. Absolutely. We had the same conversation with when the Master Plan Steering Committee reconvened, is what do we do? There has been this shift in priority, and shift in view, but after discussing it, what we thought was there are still a lot of items here that aren't specifically related to the outcome of that we should be working on and can be working on. So I agree with you that there may be a shift. That might be what comes out of the moratorium study, at which point we would then incorporate that, change the vision, update the master plan, and then you have a revised master plan with a revised vision. What we have, though, that's already complete is the master plan from July 2010 that has a number, dozens of items that should be acted upon and can help the city and help move us forward.
Thank you, because I'm glad to hear that, because I think that one of the results I'd like to see from the Master Plan Standing Committee and the moratorium study is a growth option that is really investing in our industrial parks, getting jobs to Malden, commercial space. I know we discussed earlier maybe potential zoning ordinance changes and kind of how fast we can do that. I think that this is a great opportunity for us to do it while we're in moratorium, to really kind of redraw our zoning map, to encourage this type of development that will encourage businesses to move to Malden, more jobs for our local economy. So I look forward to seeing what the results of the Master Plan Steering Committee is, and alongside with the moratorium study. So thank you again for coming tonight.
Thank you. Is there
Moving to
any-
my right, Councilor Di Maria.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Ms. Diagan, as well as your 9-member board. I'm sure you're working very hard, it sounds like it. A couple of questions. Do you meet once a month, bi-weekly, on call, or do you have a schedule?
Well, we've got quite a bit to do, and we're at the beginning stages of it. So the first couple of meetings we had, we were meeting about every 3 weeks. And then in the last couple of meetings, we've fallen into a monthly rhythm, largely because we meet Monday nights at school committee meets. So because this is a public meeting, we need to be accessible and open to the public, and that helps having the school committee here also to allow folks that may want to attend to also attend.
So monthly.
So right now, we're meeting monthly. We have some flexibility though, as the workload increases or decreases, we can alter that based on membership's availability and what we need to accomplish.
Okay, and my other question is, the expiration is the end of the year. Could you just embellish on that a little?
Yes, what that means is for the charter, we have to put an expiration date of the committee. However, as part of the charter, it doesn't close, the window doesn't close on December 31st, 2016. We can continue to move forward with the current membership that we have and continue to work on stuff so things don't get lost and don't not get done. What we would do, though, at that point is there might be, for instance, let's say the planning board, I'll use our group as an example. If for some reason Pat Hayes can't continue, or for some reason I can't continue, whether it be work-related, health, whatever the reason might be, right? We might change out who the planning board representatives are on the master plan steering committee, as may any of the other groups. Some of the citizens might say, hey, you know, my life's changed, I got a promotion, or I got whatever, and I don't have the time to spend working on this stuff. It's been nice, but you need to look for another member. So it won't just end. There may be, we may come to the end of the year and find out it stays in the exact same composition that it's in right now. But we should go through a formal, okay, the charter ended, the planning board will need to update the charter to make it December of 2018 anyways. And then at the same time, we'll go through that list that you see on page 2 and say, are you still able to continue to serve? And then we'll approach it that way. Yes, we'll ask the group, see what thoughts the group might have, and proceed forward. But we won't be, it's not like it disbands at the end of December.
That's what I was alluding to. And I think that the most important thing to me is to keep going, because I think as, you know, planning, we need to continue, we work on this and stay with it. So your comments at the end are very important, and I thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And we got a good group, and everyone's eager, and there are a lot of great interactions within the committee meetings and great ideas. There's a mix of opinions, so I think it's been, we've accomplished a lot in a short time, and I'm looking forward to the progress that we continue to make.
Yep, and we look forward to hearing all the good news. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Di Maria. Councilor D'Angelo.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for coming tonight and all the hard work you put into this, and the rest of the Master Plan Steering Committee, both our councilors and everybody else who took part. This is a worthwhile endeavor to me. As a former planning board member, I remember sitting up here many nights wondering, well, what do we want? What should we do? And to me, when this is complete, it will give the planning board guidance. It will give the principal planner guidance. It will give the city council guidance on just what it is we want to be doing for planning in the future. So that's all good. I think that a couple of things we've got to remember though. I remember distinctly the visioning workshops that we did. and hearing from the hundreds, if not thousands of people that commented in those visioning workshops. And to me, the overwhelming majority, and we can go back and look at the results, I guess, but it was slow down on the development. And I think it was mentioned earlier that the council never ended up going with the slow growth option. So despite it being slow down on development, we, the city, built an unprecedented amount of apartment buildings in a short period of time. And now we're at the point where, I think everybody realizes that we're not getting the money back for the services that we extend to these apartment buildings, whether it be with schools or police or fire. We're seeing that in the budget. So I wonder, what would have happened if this was in place maybe 10 years earlier, and maybe it was a more direct vision. But to me, the plan is only good if we're going to then follow the plan. And I don't know if that we've done that. Again, the residents spoke loud and clear. And then what we did is we hired an outside group, and they came in and they cherry-picked. And by the way, all the members of the outside groups and all the consultants, they lived in Cambridge and Arlington and Somerville and all these other highly dense communities. And they were basically recommending, and I've seen other recommendations, maybe not from this, but I'm trying to remember the other committee, where there's recommendations of, let's bring Malden to 75,000 people. And then I know there's a group out there advocating to get Malden to 90,000 people by the year 2030 or whatever it is. So we can develop all the plans in the world, and it's great, and I value your time and everybody who's taken part. But to me, we've got to make sure whatever plan we come up with, that we honor it, that we follow it, and make good on it. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor D'Angelo. Councilor Spatafora.
Thank you, Madam President. Sorry, I was sidebarred by Councilor. I'll be very brief. I think more importantly, I think all the councilors said it in a roundabout way, but first let me thank you and all your hard work as well as your committee members. The growth of the city has been unprecedented, and I think growth in any community is good. But I think we're reaching a point of saturation, and this is something we've never had before, at least as long as I've been here, is actually a plan. So quite simply, I think it's long overdue. There's a lot of work, and it's good now to have a guide, a map, whatever you want to call it. But this is the stuff that might not be sexy, it might not be exciting, but without a document like this, it not only helps the council and all the other various departments of the city, but I think it helps the impact of the residents. I know talking to them daily, their concerns are all based on everything in here. It's quality of life. They definitely want to see the services increase in the city, meaning they want the entertainment, they want the arts, they want the outside, but they want that balance too, so they can find a parking space, they can get to the other side of the city without packing a lunch, and they have access to all the wonderful things. So thank you for your hard work, and I look forward to helping hopefully implement some of the things in this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. And the Chair, Mr. Ivan and committee members, this is probably, I think, one of the most important committees that's in existence at the moment. Many of our committees do fine work. I know you sit on one that works very diligently, and many people do. But this truly is a committee that will help shape the future of our community. The work that you do is extremely important. I want you to know, and I want your committee members to know, because it was mentioned earlier that the City Council did not pass this years ago, that you have my support, and I think you can tell from the comments that have been made here tonight, you have the support of the entire City Council. We would like to make sure that you feel that there's an open door to us, that you can come to us with any issues that you have, and if we can help you in any way move forward, please do not hesitate, to send us an email, pick up a phone, or just drop in to see us, because this truly is critical to the future of the city, and I believe we will all, I took a roll call right now, I think we get 11 ayes on that. We're not always unanimous, so thank you so much for coming, and thank you for all of the hard work that you are doing. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Mr. Iovan, for a great presentation. It was wonderful that we had a chance to preview it and be able to follow along with you. And I think your presentation tonight has been indicative of the great job that you have been doing as the leader of the Malden Planning Board. Having been around for many years, I've seen a number of planning board directors, chairman of the planning board. I can remember Chuck coming on board when he was just the new kid coming on board, and he followed in the footsteps of guys like Tim Glenn and David Van Allen, which brings me to the point of saying that the planning board director, David Van Allen, who led the board for many years, has recently passed away. And I'd like to ask that we all stand for a moment of silence in honor of David Van Allen, former planning board chairman, and may he rest in peace. Thank you.
Mr. Ivan, if you would remain there for a moment, we have one more light on Councilor Condon.
Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight, Chuck. I'm happy to see that there seems to be an incentive to look at that residential overlay and how it has expanded. And I'm hoping that I'm not sure how your committee feels about it, but I think that we need to take a look at it, and I think maybe we need to reduce it because it has expanded, I think, beyond where the intention was of the downtown. I'm not looking to stifle new development, but I really think it's at a point where we have to take a serious look at it. And I think your committee will do that. I think we have to look at what's done by right and what we can control, because I'm not sure we can control too much on the residential overlay incentive area, but I think we have to initiate some sort of controls here. And finally, I just want to recognize and echo Councilor Anderson's comments. I can't think of any person in the city, board member, chairman, that has contributed the way you have over the years. I know how many times I've come up before you, and it was with Mr. Iovan, it was always how it affected the neighborhood, and he would have had the ability to balance that with development without infiltrating the neighborhood in a negative way. So from where I sit here, I thank you so much for your service. You have been a tremendous asset to this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I appreciate the support and the kind words.
Councilor Kinnon.
Yes, I just want to echo the same. I sit on the committee that Chairman Iovan chairs, and he has done a masterful job of pushing this forward, organizing it in the way that he set it up to rank things and move forward on this has been tremendous, and I'm just a proud member, a good friend, also from the class of 1980 at Malden High, and 80 does do it best. Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Kinnon. Councilor, Mr. Ivan, thank you very much, and your committee very much for being here.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for your support. I look forward to continued support, and hopefully we'll all do good things. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yes, yes. Councilor Matheson has a good point here.
Yeah, I would just like to recognize the other members of the support committee who are here. Our city planner, Michelle Romero, is here. The mayor's special assistant, Maria Luis, is here joining us this evening. And I see Adam Weldy in the back, who is a very integral part of the process as well. Thank you all for being here and your service to the city in this regard.
Thank you, Councilman Madison.
Thank you, have a good evening.
Minutes of the meeting of April 26th, May 3rd, and May 5th.
On Councilor Dacianto's motion to approve, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? The minutes are adopted. Are approved.
Council appointment of a member of the Board of Health for a term expiring March 1st, 2019. Mayor's reappointment of Francis Boudreau, 48 Essex Street, as labor representative, member of the Malden Housing Authority for a term expiring May 4th, 2021. Mayor's reappointment is Stacy Vanderveer, 6 Lebanon Terrace, as a member of the Commission on Energy Efficiency for a term expiring May 4th, 2018. Mayor's reappointment of Joshua Ward Smith, 44 Greystone Road, as a member of the Energy Efficiency Commission for a term expiring May 4th, 2018. Mayor's appointment of Victoria Parsons, 37 Medford Street, as a member of the Conservation Commission for a term expiring May 3rd, 2018.
Councilor Matheson.
Refer to appointments.
On Councilor Matheson's motion to refer to appointments, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The appointments will be referred to committee.
The petition of the National Grid and Verizon to install one jointly owned pole in the center line at the intersection of Medford and Green Streets. The hearing is required.
Yes, declare the public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come forward, state your name and address and affiliation for the record.
Ms. John Jankowski, 170 Medford Street in Malden, Mass. I'm representing National Grid. Its proposed location on Green near Medford Street to upgrade our facilities to increase the reliability to the Malden customers. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any you may have.
Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. Actually, when I got the docket, this is the first time I am the ward councilor for that area, and so this is the first time I've heard of it, so I have not had a chance to talk to anybody. So I would ask this to be tabled so I can look into it a little further.
On Councilor Crow's motion to table this, seconded by Councilor Di Maria. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The matter has been tabled. Yes, I'm sorry, the hearing has been tabled. Okay, yes, okay. We are going to, the hearing is still open in order to give anyone a chance who is currently here to speak in favor or in opposition to the request. So is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this request? Then I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to the request? Seeing and hearing no one, I declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Now, Councilor Crow's motion to table the hearing until she has the opportunity to meet and review the specifications. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The hearing has been tabled.
The petition of National Grid to relocate a jointly owned pole on Eastern Avenue, the intersection of Bristol Street, and to install sustaining cables and wires above ground and underground to service abutting properties. The hearing is required.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Jankowski, you're back.
Hello. Again, John
So I-
Jankowski, 170 Medford Street in Malden, Mass. The petition that you have in front of you
Mr.
is...
Jankowski, just one thing, I just wanted to clear the hearing open, okay? So the hearing is open, so those who wish to speak in favor, please come and state your name. Now you may go.
Okay, the petition that you have in front of you is in regards to the police station, 800 Easton Ave. The utility pole is in front of the entrance to the police station, so we have to relocate it approximately, I think it's 70 feet. To the new location, we're going to install approximately 5 feet of conduit to the proposed police station for electric service. Now, the new pole location is going to be approximately 200 feet from the existing pole, so we have to install an inline pole. Again, if you have any questions, I'm going to answer any questions you may have.
Councilor Kinnon?
Yes, I am aware of this part of the project. I've been informed of this. This needs to happen for the police station to move forward. I'm in favor. So I would like to make a motion. No? Okay, all right.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of this petition? Seeing and hearing none, I declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this petition? Seeing and hearing no one, I declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Councilor Kinnon?
Yes, it is very important that this happens so the rest of what's going on down at the police station can move along as scheduled. This was in the schedule of the police department plan. Regardless of that, you still have to come forward for approvals when these things come up, but it has been in the plan since the beginning, so I would move that we approve this.
On Councilor Kinnon's motion to approve the petition, seconded by Councilor Matheson. Yes, we do want conditions about the sidewalk being replaced to the satisfaction of the DPW director.
Yes, as would normally be done.
Standard conditions, which I'm sure National Grid is very familiar with. Thank you. On Councilor Kinnon's motion to approve the petition, seconded by Councilor Matheson, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The petition has been approved.
Thank you.
Application of license to drive a taxi cab, John Maluski, 136 Main Street, Stoneham. Scott Heller, 228 Bellingham Ave, Revere. Application for an outdoor parking permit, Malden Evening News, 277 Commercial Street. Application for a $14 license, 495 Broadway.
Refer to license committee.
On Councilor Kinnon's, on Councilor Anderson's motion to refer to License Committee, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The petitions are referred to the License Committee.
The Standing Bin Out Finance term was referred bid number 219, series of 2016. Having considered the same, make the following report. Ordered that $5,250 be transferred from legal professional services to legal salaries. Committee recommends that this bid be reported out favorably. Councilor Kinnon for the committee.
On Councilor Kinnon's motion to receive the committee report, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Committee report is received. Councilor Kinnon.
Yes, the committee met, as the clerk stated. We've approved this transfer. I'd like to move the transfer.
On Councilor Kinnon's I'm sorry, we have a light. Councilor D'Angelo.
Thank you. I'm just curious if the city solicitor is here, just to give a brief description.
Evening, councilors. I had spoken with council president about bringing Sheila Farmano back on board in a consultant capacity to assist with a couple of items that we're currently under investigation and review, primarily involved in the PIPS matter, and she has come on board in a part-time capacity. The controller is moving us away from using consultant contracts, so even though we had brought her on board in a consultant agreement. He wants us to have this as a part-time employment where her, duties are directed here. She comes here to do the work, and she's been, serving, here primarily doing all of her work. So that's why it shifted from the original consultant contract to this type of payment arrangement.
You still have, I'm sorry, Councilor Giganto.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for that clarification. And just for the record, I'm fully in favor of this. But as we learned earlier in finance, this is going to be a very difficult year. So the things we like, this is probably one of the things we like, and the things we don't like, to me, we have to have the same standard for everybody. We have to ask everybody where all the money is going. So just to be clear on that, thank you for that edification.
Councilor Cannon.
I just motion that we approve this transfer.
Okay, on Councilor Cannon's motion to adopt, seconded by Councilor Matheson, all the roll call.
Councilor Anderson.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Condon. D'Angelo. DeMaria. Cannon.
Yes.
Matheson. O'Malley. Seega. Spatafora. Murphy.
Yes. The order is adopted.
The Standing Committee on Ordinance term was referred paper number 16, series of 2016, having considered the same, make the following report. Be it ordained that a new section be added relative to prohibiting replica firearms. Committee recommends that this paper be reported out favorably with the following amendments. One, that section 7.28.1 be amended to add the following new sentence. Specifically excluded from this definition are antique replica firearms and replica firearms used for ceremonial purposes. Two, that section 7.28.2 paragraph C be amended by deleting the words is closed with an orange plug permanently affixed of the same material of which the imitation firearm is made, and inserting in place thereof has a permanent orange tip. Councilor Spatafora for the committee.
Thank you, Madam President. The Ordinance Committee met over the last couple,
Receive.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
On Councilor Spatafora's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Councilor Spatafora for the committee.
Sorry about that, Madam President. I was very excited. The Ordinance Committee met several times on this. This is an ordinance that the mayor asked us to look at, as well as with the support of the Northern Police Chief, Mr. Molis. This ordinance has been supported, started, I believe, in Boston. A lot of the surrounding communities are passing this as well. It is just another way that the local law enforcement can identify toy or replica guns that children, unfortunately, or young adults are carrying. And this will now require them to affix this yellow tip. Also, it gives the law enforcement the ability for some young teens who are carrying BB guns. Again, it's for the safety not only of the citizens, but the policemen who are patrolling the streets, and especially the kids carrying these guns. It gives them the ability, especially under 18, to at least have some type of ordinance in place to talk to their parents, etc. It is legal over 18 to carry a firearm, a BB gun, but again, this gives us the ability for those under 18, and Chief Ball said there's been a couple instances already where they have, I don't want to use the word caught, but they've seen some children carrying these BB guns. So this is just another way that we can help the children and the residents, the police within the community, and I look for your full support on this meeting. Thank you.
Councilor Seeger, Councilor Matheson. Councilor Matheson.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. We certainly don't want to see any children get shot accidentally. We were just thinking about this over here on the side of the table and wondering what happens if they do catch a replica gun that doesn't have the orange tip? Is it confiscated? Is the individual taken into custody? Did we contemplate this?
Yeah, there is, I believe, a $50 fine, the first offense. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, thank you, Madam Clerk. So to clarify, the first offense, the police has the ability, will confiscate that for 24 hours. If it's a minor, the parents will come in and they can pick it up. And then the second offense would be a $50 fine. This is not something the police officer is looking to confiscate or at least even fine. They just want the ability that they, you know, Chief Moore said, in most cases, I think, the parents will come in, they have the conversation with them once, and they'll more than happily give them back this toy gun.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. So educate the public and maybe correct a potential problem. Yes, that's good. Thank you.
Seeing no other lights from the chair, I might be the only one who will be opposed to this evening, but I do have some sincere reservations about this. It's not that I don't want to protect our children. It's just that, to me, putting an orange dot on something that looks like a gun, that could be a gun, that would make people think it wasn't a gun, is more dangerous than not putting the orange dot on it. If I saw someone with a gun, I would take certain steps to protect myself. Now, all of a sudden, I feel like if I see an orange dot on a gun, I might be less vigilant. And I think that for those people who want to hide the fact that they have a real gun, it's very easy for them to put this orange sticker or an orange tape or an orange paint on their gun to pretend that it's a fake gun as opposed to a real gun. So I really think that this is going down the wrong path, and for that reason, I cannot support it. Thank you. Councilor O'Malley?
Thank you, Madam President. I want to echo your concerns for Second and Fourth Amendment reasons. I will also not be supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Craig makes the motion, Councilor Spatafora makes the motion to amend in accordance with the committee report. Councilor Kinnon, I'm sorry. And seconded by Councilor Kinnon. Roll call. We can actually have more conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted the body to be aware of what the amendment entailed, and the amendment did have the orange dot provision in it, so if that's your objection, you would vote, I would presume, against the amendment, but for the overall concept. Could we just have it recited again with the actual amendment clause that's coming out of committee? Well, that's why I wanted to read.
Originally, the ordinance said the barrel of the imitation firearm is closed with an orange plug permanently affixed. The committee recommendation was to substitute the words "has a permanent orange tip."
Understood. Okay, I'm clear right now. Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Anderson.
Yes, thank you. I think we're all familiar with the problems that we saw in Cleveland, where the young Tamir Rice was gunned down within a couple of seconds by a police officer thinking that he had a real gun. And we need to do something about this. The idea of having an orange sticker that would signify it being a fake gun is, I think, a step in the right direction. If I understand what the council president and others have said about how the bad guys could try to pretend it was a fake gun with the orange sticker, but I think when I weigh those two things, I would go on the side of saying let's have the replica prohibited, and putting the dot on there so that those guns can be identified by the police. So I'm going to be in support of this recommendation coming out of the committee. Thank you.
Yes, roll call on the amendment.
Councilor Anderson, Crowe, Condon, D'Angelo, DeMaria, Kinnon, Matheson, O'Malley, Sika, Spatafora, Murphy.
No. The paper is amended 7-4. On the paper. To enroll the paper as amended. And Councilor Spatafora's motion to enroll the paper as amended. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Anderson.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
D'Angelo. Di Maria. Kennett.
Yes.
Matheson.
Yes.
O'Malley. Seega. Spatafora.
Yes.
Murphy.
No. It's enrolled paper is enrolled 7-4.
The Standing Committee on Ordinance to whom was referred paper number 161, series of 2016, having considered the same, make the following report. Communication from the Planning Board relative to paper 15 of 2016. Committee recommends that this paper be placed on file. Councilor Spatafora for the committee.
On Councilor Spatafora's motion to receive the committee report, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Councilor Spatafora?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. This was a paper that was, as noted earlier, there was a joint paper between ordinance and the planning board. The recommendation was there was a recommendation to pass with recommendations by the planning board. The ordinance committee then got that recommendation and made changes to that paper, specifically to allow these fraternal organizations and club and lodge licenses to allow for secondary use. And the highlight, I think, the importance here is that the council. Oh, you want to wait? I just want to look at it. Yeah, sorry. I'm jumping ahead again.
On Councilor Spatafora's motion to place the paper on file, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Paper is placed on file.
The Standing Committee on Ordinance to whom was referred paper number 15 of 16, having considered the same, make the following report. Amending Chapter 12 of the revised ordinance to add recreation for gainful business secondary to a club or lodge. Committee recommends that this paper be reported out favorably with the following amendments. 1, that the words no as appearing under columns RO and yes as appearing under columns BC and BH be stricken and SP be inserted in place thereof. 2, that the following definition be added to section 800. Recreation for gainful business secondary to club or lodge. A recreation for gainful business that is secondary to a club or lodge as defined by this ordinance. A recreation for gainful business use secondary to a club or lodge shall be restricted to a specific occupant or tenant and may only be for one of the following types of recreation for gainful business: dance studio, fitness studio, gym, karate studio, martial arts studio, yoga studio, or similar type of recreation for gainful business. The following types of recreation for gainful business use are expressly excluded: arcade, billiard, pool hall, bowling alley, movie theaters, playhouse theater, and a radio-controlled car track. Only movable non-permanent equipment may be used, and no permanent equipment or fixtures may be installed at the property to accommodate a recreation for gainful business use secondary to a club or lodge. No building or structure may be erected or enlarged to accommodate the recreation for gainful business use secondary to a club or lodge. Councilor Spatafora for the committee.
On Councilor Spatafora's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Councilor Spatafora, the committee report is received.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I apologize for jumping the gun. This is the paper that was amended with the help of the planning board. The clerk has mentioned some of the highlights of specifics. The challenge with this was the ordinance committee wanted to make sure that we were able to serve two purposes. One is to allow some of these organizations, clubs, lodges, et cetera, to continue doing what they've been doing for quite some time, but not under the eyes of the law. And these are, for example, maybe some dance lessons or exercises, et cetera. They were not allowed to do so, so we are now giving them the ability to bring in some income in some of these organizations much needed. On the other side of it, the balance, the equation is balancing the neighborhoods. As you know, a lot of these organizations are located in our neighborhoods and have limited parking now. So that's why the council or the ordinance committee has required that it has to be a secondary use. It has to be a special permit, and that special permit is only for that specific tenant. So I think it's a very good highlight there. I think that's a good compromise. Also, there can be no permanent fixtures to change the facility. So I mentioned there was things such as a car racetrack for those RC controllers that wouldn't be allowed because they would have to put in a permanent structure. But a dance studio or yoga lessons, etc. could. So I think we've balanced the needs of the organizations as well as the neighborhoods, and this would require a special permit again, which gives the council the ability and the neighbors to have input in this use. I would respectfully ask for all your support in this ordinance. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. I do have some lights on, but before we go to the lights, Councilor Condon is asked to be recused from this vote. Yes, I believe it's because
He's on the board of directors of one of the clubs that could potentially benefit.
Yeah, he's not a member, he's on the board, that's the distinction. Yeah, I'm sure we're all members of an organization, that's why.
So before we get into this session and we get into vote, I'd just like to ask all those in favor of Councilor Condon recusing himself from this vote. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Councilor Condon has been recused from the discussion and the vote. Starting with my left, Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. So I also wanted to echo Councilor Spatafora's sentiments. I think this is a great paper that will help encourage jobs and activities for our local residents in Malden. It also will generate needed revenue for our community clubs. So I'm also supporting this, and I would appreciate everyone's support also. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Anderson.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. We've got great clubs in this city, and they need this kind of help to sustain these operations. These clubs have been very helpful to the city of Malden in many different ways, and for us to give them an opportunity to generate some additional monies in this regard makes all the sense in the world. So I am 100% behind this, and I hope that the rest of my colleagues will join me in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson. Councilor Madison.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to attend the first committee meeting where this was broached, but I do think that you spoke about this at more than one committee. I heard you mention that there are some secondary uses that exist presently. Those all along the lines of the explicitly allowed uses, such as studios, dance studios, karate studios. That's why those were mentioned specifically through the chair to the chairman.
Councilor Spatafora.
Yes, and we want to make sure that the secondary use was limited to things that would not, have altered the structure and actually become the primary use. So we want to be careful how we balance that.
And movie theaters and RC tracks would be alterations to the building.
Correct, and then you would have parking, and again, we still need a special permit, so that's what the parking problems we had in the past. To Council Balance's point, we had several meetings because I don't think the council, or the ordinance committee rather, was against this, but they wanted to make sure that they didn't open, we're limited in scope already with parking in a lot of these neighborhoods. This could open up Pandora's box, so we wanted to make sure we had that balance, and if something goes in there that we feel, if this dance studio becomes 200 people going to a dance studio, at least the council has the ability, or the neighbors to at that point, the special permit say, we want to take that away, and it's specific to that use, which I think is very good for us. There's no longevity with that. If the dance studio wants to leave.
All right, that all makes sense to me. I'm actually a little nostalgic for the old community theaters. They would be nice if we had one, but I understand the committee's thought process, and I'll support it tonight. Thank you.
Seeing no other lights from the chair, I also support this. I think it's a wonderful reciprocal agreement arrangement where our clubs will benefit and also a number of activities looking for space. The space is very difficult to find in this city, will now be available to some groups. So I too am supporting this wholeheartedly. So on Councilor Spatafora's motion to amend in accordance with the committee report, all those, seconded by Councilor Di Maria, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The paper has been amended. Would you like to? On Councilor Spatafora's motion to enroll, clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Anderson.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
D'Angelo. Di Maria. Kenneth. Matheson.
Yes.
O'Malley. Seega.
Yes.
Spatafora.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. On Councilor Spatafora's motion to suspend docket rules for the purpose of ordaining the paper this evening, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Rules are suspended. On Councilor Spatafora's motion to ordain, clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Anderson.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
D'Angelo. Di Maria. Kenneth. Matheson. O'Malley. Seega. Spatafora. Murphy.
Yes. The paper has been ordained.
The Standing Committee on Ordinance to whom was referred big number 220, series of 2016, having considered the same, make the following report. Be it ordained that section 9.40.1 of the revised ordinances be amended to require contact information for all units subject to rental unit inspection. Committee recommends that this paper be reported out favorably with the following amendments. One, that the words with their application be stricken from the first paragraph, and two, that the words consisting of 3 or more units be stricken from the second paragraph. Councilor Spatafora for the committee.
On Councilor Spatafora's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Councilor Spatafora, the committee report is received.
Yes, thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam President. The Ordinance Committee, was busy at work, and this is a paper that came, I believe, from the mayor's office, or at least the Board of Health, with regards to requiring contract information for rental units. One of the challenges in the community right now is if there's any issues, whether it be Board of Health issues, inspectional issues, or unfortunately sometimes public safety issues, it's all too often that the landlord, if it's not owner occupied, does not live in the city, or in some cases don't live in the state, or in some cases doesn't live in the country, and there's no way to get in touch with that landlord. So this would require the owner of the property to have that information posted. I'm going to be a little bit hazy here, but it would be posted in a location where the city could access that. It would either be the landlord, the owner of the property, or the property manager, because in some cases they have a local property manager. But this would allow us to have the ability to contact them in the case of emergency or in the case of an inspection.
Councilor Anderson.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. To the chairman of the committee, I understand that they struck the term of 3 or more. So is this to include every rental unit? If a landlord, if there's a two-family house, who are they going to be reporting this contact information to?
If it's not owner-occupied, Councilor Anderson. So if you live in the house
Yes.
and you have a tenant, you have a landlord, you live in the house, they wouldn't have to post it.
You don't have to post
If
it?
it's owner-occupied.
Okay.
If you have a two-family, you don't live there, you would have to post either your information, or if you had a property manager, we'd contact them. I think there's been a couple instances where it literally took the city weeks to find out who owned the property.
Okay.
So this was one of the areas, I think not that I'm saying we always copy other communities, I think some other communities have this, but this was an idea that came out of, I think it wasn't the Board of Health, it was the public properties that Maria Louise heads up in the mayor's office there. We're having trouble with these, yeah, exactly. Having trouble with these particular properties, in some cases, literally weeks to get a hold of them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I was concerned if we were talking about having every piece of rental property in the city, even to include those where the owner occupies one of the apartments. That would seem to be an overreach of government trying to get all that contact information.
Yeah, and I'll give you a little rationale. I think the reason why we went down to as low as 2, because if the owner didn't live there, Councilman Anderson, if something happened, we would still need to get a hold of that owner. So, but if the owner lives there, you're right, it's a moot point, they're there, we can find out pretty easily.
Well, I certainly do know that I've had in my ward, for example, problems where the tenants who have been living there, there have been troublesome tenants. You try to send the enforcement people down to quell the late night parties or what have you, and the people who are the renters never seem to respond because they're not concerned. But when we get in touch with the landlords and have the landlords put the pressure on the tenants, then things seem to get taken care of.
Yeah, and if I may add one more point, Councilor, that Councilor Crowe did remind me of. One of the reasons, too, is the history there is we do sometimes, the taxes are mailed to a P.O. box. The problem is we cannot send a legal notice to a P.O. box.
I see.
So if we wanted to find somebody or send a legal document, in most cases, I think you cannot FedEx to a P.O. box. So this is what that requirement is going to allow us to do, is not only find out where they are, but if we wanted to send something legal to them, have them sign, whether it be a fine or a legal document, we know how to get a hold of you now.
Yeah, well, I hope our citizens are aware of what we're doing here this evening, because many of the problems in neighborhoods I've noticed have been from tenants that are in the house where we don't have contact with the landlords, and so, like I say, the enforcement people come down, they leave, communication with the tenants, and they don't seem to care. They come back, and there's a different set of tenants, but when you get to the landlord, that's where the action takes place. So very good, Councilor. I'm all behind it. Thank you.
Councilor.
From the chair, Council Staff Report, I just have a couple of questions. I agree, we certainly need to have contact information, but I have 2 questions. One is, how is this enforced, and is there a fine associated with non-compliance?
I don't have the answer, I apologize, all right, yeah. Maria's, there is a, there is a fine, I apologize.
Councilor O'Malley?
So I don't know what the exact fine is, but this is a violation of our ordinances, which you can fine over. So I think how they get attention would either be compliance officers or PIPs or the police finding out that something's happened here and they don't have that.
Okay, I kind of could assume that too, but I guess I'm looking for the more specifics. Sometimes when we pass the ordinances, there's an actual fine associated with it. So that was one question that I had, how we would do that. And then the other question I had is unfortunately I was not in the ordinance meeting, so when you're talking about posting this, it's one thing to post a management company or somebody's name. I mean, is it going to be like on the front of the house? I mean, is there any, do we define how this is going to be done? Can someone just call Chris Webb, because maybe they wouldn't want their name and address and telephone number posted on the front of the house? Can they, call Chris Webb and go on file with it somewhere? I guess I'm looking at it from a privacy issue too. Did anybody discuss that?
Yeah, that was discussed in the age of having digital documents. That was something that was mentioned. And I think the other thing too was the communication, I believe we're talking about is using our water bills and tax bills to communicate that to the owners as far as this ordinance coming in. I find it similar to the ordinance that we had for inspection of your apartments, where we did that, where every time you changed your tenant on multiple units, and I think we've changed that number now, but we did something very similar. We started with the date, and then we communicated out whether it be the website, and then through the water bills and the tax bills, etc. And then at one point, I don't want to say it was a guessing game, but I think it's common sense where we would give everybody the ability to the implementation for this. I don't think we're looking to find people. I think it's the ability of, we just want to have this ability to contact. Now, I will find out about the ability for digital. I know digital records, something I mentioned in Chris Moore.
Right, you know, and I too have had, you know, homes that I wish we could have gotten in touch with more easily. So I certainly am not against this. It's just, I guess, the devil in the details at this point about when you say posting. To me, that's kind of a private issue.
And I apologize. Marie Louise, who's the assistant to the mayor and also chairperson of that committee, she can answer some of these questions, and I apologize for not being prepared.
Ms. Louise, would you please approach the podium? Thank you.
Good evening. I'll just add to what Councilor Spatafora said. This is actually an amendment to the current rental unit ordinance that we already have in place. So this is in addition to that. So the penalties and the enforcement that's already included in that ordinance would pertain to this piece of it as well. So right now, as it stands in the rental unit ordinance, what happens is when a non-owner occupied rental unit is going to be rented, a new tenant coming in, they're required to file an application with the Board of Health for an inspection. So at that time, they have their information on file with the new tenant. What this additional language would require is that everybody would have to submit at least contact information if it's a non-owner occupied rental unit. So even if it's a two-family, even a one-family that may be rented out but not owner occupied, they would be required to provide the Board of Health or PIPS with their contact information. The part about posting information, that would be for 3 or more units. So what the language says is that if it's a non-owner occupied dwelling consisting of 3 or more units, there shall be a posting, they shall post or maintain or cause to be posted and maintained on such dwelling adjacent to the mailboxes or elsewhere in a location that is visible, a notice constructed of durable material bearing the name, address, and telephone number of the contact information. So that would be for 3 or more units. However, every non-owner occupied rental unit would have to leave their contact information with PIPS. One of the things that was discussed in ordinance committee was getting this information out to the residents. So the hope is to do it through social media, maybe in a tax bill, water bill, something like that once it's passed. And then the other thing that the new language would provide would be that P.O. boxes don't satisfy the address requirement, because that's been a main problem for the problem properties unit, is getting in touch with people that leave a P.O. box. And also, if they don't live in Malden or outside of Massachusetts or outside of the country, they have to have a resident agent identified with their contact information. So that's basically the new language. Everything else in the ordinance is the same.
Thank you, Ms. Louise. Could you stay there just a moment because I do have some lights on, which you might need to address a few other questions. Councilor D'Angelo.
Thank you, Madam President. And I like the intention of this paper, I do. But I do Madam President, I agree with you and have some concerns. Several people who are close to me have been victims of violence, and particularly like sexual predator type of situations. And I wouldn't want them, if they didn't feel comfortable making their address known, have to make their address known. That's one concern I have. The other I have too, though, is have we passed this in front of legal? Is this like even constitutional? That would be a question I have, like, did the committee hear from legal opinion on that? And then the other is, I guess, I agree, I like the P.O. box piece, that's a good part of it and everything. But, like, so I'm not sure, I mean, because the inspectors right now have incredible latitude and force. I mean, they can basically go into any place at any time for any reason if they deem that there's a public health thing or what. So I don't understand why do we need this additional thing? Why? Like, that's kind of missing, I'm kind of missing that. I mean, is it just an administrative thing? Like, we're not able to handle it? So those are some of the questions I have. I mean, again, I like the intention of the paper, but I'd like to try to address some of those concerns. Thank you.
Councilman Smith.
Thanks, Council President. So I understand this is one of the attendant problems with becoming a big city. You know, we're a densely populated urban environment. We know that there are homes that have nuisance properties, sometimes tenants that are making noise disturbances late, or parking problems, blocking people in, and things of that nature. And I understand that we have public safety concerns, but we also have to balance that with privacy concerns. It sounds to me like you've modeled the language that you've read from perhaps another big city. Where did you get that from, and how was it modified from there? Boston?
I did. I believe it was Boston. I
looked at Boston too. It's a good source.
I have it here, but it's not marked as Boston. So, but my memory is that it was Boston. It was modeled after.
So, one of the things that concerns me is whether or not we really need, and I know your original paper had 3 more dwelling units in the building, and that would necessitate the need to publicly display it. But if we have all the ownership information, which I do believe we need, I'm in favor of the paper, because some homes, even if you look them up on Mass Land Records or things of that nature, you find the owner within the deed, and it might be a trust, it might be a P.O. box, it might be unidentifiable and requires some real research, which doesn't help you solve the problem as it's happening. And you need to be proactive and contemporaneous with what's going on. So I wonder if just collecting the information with PIPs, shared with the police, whether or not we really need to compel owners to put their private names and addresses in the mailboxes on public display, particularly where they're only renting 1 unit. That's my only concern. I don't know if necessarily that should defeat the entire paper, but I would be satisfied so long as the police had a ready resource of ownership information with which to address the problems contemporaneous with those problems happening.
And that is definitely the intent here that we were trying to address. A lot of times, suspicious activities going on. Something happens in the middle of the night, and the police don't have someone to contact. And if they look it up, online, it ends up being a trust or someone they can't track down. So that has happened.
But if we did enforce it, I understand there's an enforcement mechanism through fines and whatnot. If we did have that ownership information in a master database with PIPs and with the police, I don't think that we necessarily need the owners to have it on public display in the mailbox, exposing them to, I don't know, perhaps, harassment. Not everyone wants all their information in the mailbox. That's where I'm coming from. But certainly the city has a legitimate concern for the public benefit here that needs to be addressed. So I don't know if I'm going to support the amendment here or propose one on my own. I'm interested in hearing the rest of the debate. But I do want to make sure that the city has the information it needs without unduly burdening anyone with putting a lot of information on mailboxes.
Councilor Cannon.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with this entire paper. I think it's important. I don't think there are civil liberties at stake here. These people are running a business. Councilor Matheson, Councilor Spatafora, your neighbors know who you are, Councilor Anderson. They can contact you. You live there, as does everyone else. And many of us are haunted by these properties, that we can't find the owners. And quite frankly, if your property is that bad, and you start getting what you call harassed by the neighbors, maybe you'll wake up. So allowing the public to know who the owner of the property is certainly is not violating any kind of privacy or civil liberties. That you can find out the owners of the buildings, commercial buildings if you want, why they're allowed, and maybe the ordinances they're not allowed to put up on their PO boxes or anything like that. But certainly nobody's saying to put on their telephone numbers. But it does say that on the outside of the house. Well, then I would agree with you on that. But their addresses should go on there. So if I want to write you a letter as a neighbor, I ought to be able to get in touch with you. If I want to really do some research and find your phone number, I can probably do that. But it shouldn't be an impossible effort. And we certainly have had houses, even when there's been fires, and it's taken us 3 days or more to find the owners because of these PO boxes, these trusts, and everything else. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cannon. Councilor Anderson.
Yes, thank you. I don't see any civil liberties issue here either. It sounds to me like what we're looking to do is be able to get in touch with the landlords who now we have a difficult time getting in touch with. I don't see us, when I say us, I'm talking about our enforcement people, trying to get in touch with these landlords at 2 o'clock in the morning when there's a problem going on. You know, we're going to make contact with these landlords the next day when either you would go, you know, our code enforcement, you know, inspectors or whatever would go to the PIPS department for the information, or the assessors for the records. So much of the information is already there, you know. And I just I need to clarify through the chair to the chairman of the committee, or maybe to Maria Louise. Are we expecting that a single family home, all that information will be posted externally?
The way it reads now is 3 or more units.
3 or more units.
Correct.
So for 3 or more units, that's a business activity going on. I don't see that as a violent or an undue influence that government is looking into. You know, Big Brother is looking at you. We need a way to be able to get in touch with these landlords so that we can stop the bad activity that's going on there. And I think this is really a good step, a right step in the right direction. So I fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson. We have a number of lights, and I'm going to go to Councilor Spatafora, then Councilor Condon, then Councilor D'Angelo. Councilor Spatafora.
Thank you, Madam President. I didn't expect it to be this heated, but I would say this. I think it is a business. It is a business. Somebody owns a couple pieces of property in the city. I had no problem putting my phone number on a for rent sign and sticking it on the front of Main Street, Malden, and I got 50 calls. So if I own 3 properties in the city of Malden, I should have no problem putting my name and my number somewhere where the city can get in touch to. And the other litmus test that I would do is, I would ask any councilor right now to walk into a house in the neighborhood and say, I want to find out who lives near in the phone number within 10 minutes. We couldn't do it now. The picture 3 in the morning, there's water gushing out of this guy's house or this person's house. The police department wouldn't even know where to, they can call the station. The station's not going to have access right away. I mean, I wish we had this type of database where all the council had access to. So what I would say is we should have the ability to have a quick source, and the city should have it, and also, I should be able to walk up to somebody's doorfront that's got 3 or more units, that is a business, and find out that phone number. It doesn't have to be their personal cell phone, but I don't think you can take the good issues, meaning, hey, I want to put my phone number out there when I want to rent it. Oh, but if there's any bad things, I don't want my phone number shared. So I personally have no issues with this. Again, I own a couple pieces of property, I put my phone number out there, I got 75 phone calls in 2 days on it. I wanted to rent it. Now, if there was a problem with that property, I would want to know. But I think in most cases, the people who this is going to affect is the people that don't want to be found. That's why they have a P.O. box. That's why we're having trouble. And if I have to defend them, I understand there's some people we might have some concerns about this, but I'm not trying to protect them, those people. I'm trying to protect neighbors who are going through, in most cases, hell and high water to get this fixed. And all we're trying to do is get a corrective action plan in a timely fashion. And if you don't like it, go on, the city doesn't have the ordinance, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafor. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a quality of life issue, all right? I'm concerned with civil liberties too. Of the people that have to live in a neighborhood where there's a 3 or 4 family house and there's a disturbance every single night, they don't know who to contact. I've had it happen dozens of times where we had to track down who owns the property. And believe it or not, some of these landlords are happy to find out the information because some of them are blind to who's actually living in, the police is responding to their home. And I've seen tenants evicted. And you know what? That's what we want to happen. The bad people that live in these houses that are disturbing people. I had people live in a house for 60 years, 85 years old, waking up all hours of the night, absentee landlord. When we finally tracked them down and notified them that, hey, your tenant up on the 2nd and 3rd floors are out of control. We've been there 3 times in the last month from the police. They're happy, some of these people. They don't want to deal with bad tenants. And I've seen evictions because of it. And so that's why I think this is a good thing. I really do. And it's a quality of life issue for the people that want to live in this city and are vested in our community. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sweatterford.
Thank you, Councilor Condon. Councilor D'Angelo.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam President. And I appreciate the debate here. Just first of all, I too am against absentee landlords. I think everybody is. But most of our landlords are good landlords. Most of our housing stock is great housing stock. So let me get this straight. We're penciling this thing in for the small minority that we may not know who they are. And last time I checked, this is still a free country. I know it's eroding more and more by the minute. And it's a tragedy. So I'm very disappointed that certain members here wouldn't see that as the overlying thing here. So the truth comes out though. Really, it took a little while, but now the truth is out. This is just another attack on small business. I mean, so what's next? Now we're going to ask all businesses to start posting names of all their clients for everything. Because really, that's what this opens up the door for. I mean, seriously? So now I'm just going to walk into 160 and I'm going to be able to find out who lives in every unit. And I mean, seriously? For what? I don't get it. Like there are already, I was just looking at chapter 40, Mass General Law, a couple of other chapters. There are already a ton of provisions in Mass General Law that give our inspectors more power than our police officers oftentimes to go into these units. I have no understanding of why we need this. This is mind-boggling to me. Because now, this is what we're doing. We're creating lists. We're creating lists. Next thing you know, we're going to be putting stickers on doors for certain people who live here and certain people who live there. I don't want to live in that Malta. Now, I understand the intent of this. That was good, and I appreciate that. I think that the committee and the sponsor did a great job. But we're going too far here. So I make a motion that we table this, do more study on it. Thank you.
Yes, Councilor D'Angelo has a motion on the table to table. Okay, it does accept. I do have a question. I still have a number of lights on here, but I'm just going to ask a couple of questions for clarification, since it seems like everyone's had a chance to at least speak once. Ms. Louise, so this is, just for clarification, 3 or more non-owner occupied units. Is that correct?
For the contact information to be
For the
posted.
contact information to be posted. And that is name, address, and telephone number.
That's how it reads.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to clarify this.
The amendment is, has to do with all non-owner occupied rental units. But that only requires that you submit the information to PIPS.
Okay, so that's more practical. I know, just that, I'm trying to wade through this a little bit here, so, I don't think there's any counselor up here who's going to disagree that, we certainly do have our share of problems. I have them also, so, it's not that I'm against this, I'm trying to kind of take it all in the discussion that's happening. This is the first time I've kind of heard about it. I do agree with Council Stafford's comment about, if you are renting something, people do put their names on the lawn. So, it is a small business. I do concede to that point. And people do need to know how to get in touch with people in the event of a fire or a water break. So you'll do an outreach similar to you did with the rental unit inspections. And I guess I don't want to belabor this, but on that note, the rental unit inspections, are these people who are not in the country and have a PO box, are they actually complying with that rental owner inspection?
Some do.
Some do. So some people will, and the people who don't even comply with the rental inspections probably aren't going to comply with this either.
Correct.
Which are normally on problem units. Correct. Yes, all right. Thank you. I'm warming up to this idea. I'm not opposed to it. I was just trying to understand the particulars and all the pieces of it. So, having a number of lights, I'm going to start with my left here. Councilor Kinnon?
Yes, and thank you, Madam President. I just want to make something clear. This is not only about penalizing people, and I will give you an example of that. I have an apartment building, a small apartment building on Myrtle Street in Malden. And in the last big snowstorm year, I was walking down the street checking things out, and I saw that the plow plowed the snow right across the street and up onto the sidewalk on the other side. That apartment did have a sign, and does have a sign with a telephone number to the manager, the real estate company that the owner owns. I immediately called the real estate, that number, and I said, here's what's happened. And if you don't have this corrected, I'm going to have to fine you. Not me, but the city is. I'm going to call compliance. But your plow guy just did this. He's left now. And could you get this fixed? He stated that he was sorry. He would have the guy back there within an hour and have it corrected. He did do that, and thus avoided us having to clean up the mess that was made by his private contractor. So it was a helping thing. In another instance where that didn't exist, and I went and knocked on the door, the tenant couldn't even tell me where the landlord lived, and that their check, not from them, but just got mailed to some box. They knew but they, according to them, didn't know how to get in touch with the person. I had to get compliance involved, and ultimately that landlord was fined and did have to pay a fine because they had almost the exact same thing happen where their plow guy came in and plowed all the snow across the street up onto the sidewalk. Two different instances, both the council trying to help so somebody doesn't get fined, but one had to be because I had to get the other side cleared out and the DPW had to come down and do it. So there had to be some help there. So we're not always trying to penalize people. This can be very helpful in terms of getting a lot of things done. So thank you.
Councilor Di Maria for the first time.
Thank you, Madam President. So, I own property in Malden. I have property that I live at, and I am non-owner occupied in some of my properties. With these landlords that are not abiding by the rules and allowing bad behavior, this is where this amended ordinance will help. I believe that this is a tool to help our city get better. I believe that we are still a community, and even though it's a business, they should abide by the rules because some landlords, like myself, do follow the rules. So I am thoroughly in support of this, and I think I respect some counselor, most all my counselors here, but to think that it is a misrepresentation of civil rights, I do not believe that. I think it's to move our city forward, and I strongly urge my counselors to support this. Thank you.
On Councilor Spatafora's motion. Councilor Crowe, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Councilor Crowe. My apologies, Councilor Crowe for the first time.
Thank you, Madam President. We've seen a lot of examples, and I do sit on the problem properties unit, and, besides examples Councilor Kinman had given, we have these arguments all the time about rooming houses, and usually those are non-owner occupied. And to try to find those people to straighten out some of these issues has been a great deal of time. So when you're at these meetings, we have our assistant city solicitor, John McNaught, who sits on those. And with our limited resources, he spends a lot of time just trying to find the owners so we can do some service to be able to get into the properties and get some inspections. So, again, was he spending that much time? Well, he could be doing other things. When we have limited resources, we need to make sure that we can most effectively implement the rules that we do have. So I'm in total support of this ordinance. Thank you.
On Councilor Spatafora's motion to amend in conjunction, Councilor Matheson?
Consistent with the last paper that we had, I would like the amendment read so we know exactly what we're voting for as far as amending language.
Clerk will read the amendment, please.
That the words consisting of 3 or more units be stricken from the second paragraph.
No, but I'm just going to paraphrase and you can tell me if I've got this right. So if there's 3 or more rental units, then the name, address, and phone number is it's affixed to the mailbox.
Non-owner occupied.
To non-owner occupied. But 1 or more non-owner occupied units, you still supply the information to PIPs who can share it with the police. The city has it for emergencies and things of that nature. All right, so if you vote for the amendment, you're striking 3 or more from the requirement that 1 or more non-owner occupied units I would supply this. I get it now. I hope that elaboration might have helped clarify it in some other minds, but thank you, I certainly.
Yeah. On Councilor Spatafora's motion to amend in accordance with the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. All opposed? The committee report has been amended. The ordinance has been amended. On Councilor Spatafora's motion to enroll as amended, the clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Anderson.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
D'Angelo. DeMaria. Kenneth.
Yes.
Matheson.
Yes.
O'Malley.
Yes.
Sika. Spatafora. Murphy.
Yes. On Councilor Spatafora's motion to suspend the rules to ordain, all those in favor, clerk will call the roll. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The rules are suspended. On Councilor Spatafora's motion to ordain, the clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Anderson.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
D'Angelo. DeMaria. Kenneth.
Yes.
Matheson.
Yes.
O'Malley.
Yes.
Sika. Spatafora.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. The paper has been ordained.
The Standing Committee on Compliance Appointments to whom was referred paper number 134 of 16. Having considered the same, make the following report. Mayor's reappointment of Dino Summers as an associate member of the Board of Appeal. Committee recommends that this appointment be confirmed. Councilor Matheson for the committee.
Motion to receive the committee report.
On Councilor Matheson's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The committee report has been received. Councilor Matheson.
Thank you, Council President. And for those of you still here and listening at home, this won't take nearly as long as some of the prior papers. And just so you know, we do have executive session union negotiations to discuss following this, so our night is longer than you think. With respect to the mayor's appointments and reappointments, the council has confirmation. We refer those matters to the appointments committee. And unlike in the past, we do a more comprehensive job of inviting everybody in so they can reintroduce themselves, give us a status of what's been going on in their committee or commission or a different public body. In this instance, it was the Board of Appeals. Mr. Dino Summers has been on the board for quite a number of years. He's an associate member, but his vote counts every time because that body does need all members on hand in order to make quorum and do business. It's a very important committee that we have in the city, and the committee had voted unanimously to confirm the reappointment of Dino Summers. And I make a motion that this city council also confirm. Thank you.
On Councilor Matheson's motion to confirm the appointment, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The appointment has been confirmed.
The Standing Committee on Compliance Appointments to whom was referred paper number 129, series of 2016, having considered the same, make the following report. The mayor's reappointment of Andrew Zamani as a member of the Board of Registrar of Voters. Committee recommends that this appointment be confirmed. Councilor Matheson for the committee.
Motion to receive the committee report.
On Councilor Matheson's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor Matheson for the committee.
Thank you, Chair. Once again, Compliance Appointment Committee convened on the same occasion as Mr. Dino Summers to meet with Andrew Savagny, and he had been serving in this capacity for quite a number of years, 14 if recollection serves me well, and is a dedicated member. The other members of that body had spoken highly of him, and he was very interested in serving another term, very knowledgeable about the work that the committee had been performing, and once again, the body had voted unanimously to recommend the confirmation of this reappointment, and I make a motion that the City Council do the same.
On Councilor Matheson's motion to confirm, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The appointment has been confirmed.
The Standing Committee on Compliance Appointments to whom was referred paper number 130, series of 2016, having considered the same, make the following report. The mayor's reappointment of William Coleman as a member of the Public Works Commission. Committee recommends that this appointment be confirmed. Councilor Matheson for the committee.
Motion to receive the committee report.
On Councilor Matheson's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor Matheson to the committee.
Thank you, Council President. And Mr. Coleman has evidence that no matter how long you've been serving with the city, whether you were a former councilor or a long-time member of the body that you're serving for, we still have them in, we still talk with them about the work that's been going on with the city, where they see the committee going in the future, and make sure they're going to be on hand and available for the remainder of the term that they're being recommended for. The committee again unanimously voted to confirm this mayoral reappointment to the Public Works Commission, and I make a motion that the council do the same.
On Councilor Matheson's motion to confirm Mr. Coleman to the appointment, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The appointment is confirmed.
Order that the city council meet with representatives of the mayor's office in executive session relative to union negotiations. Councilor D'Angelo.
On Councilor D'Angelo's motion to meet in executive session relative to union negotiations, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Anderson. Crowe. Condon. D'Angelo. DeMaria. Kenneth. Matheson.
Yes.
O'Malley. Seega. Spatafora. Murphy.
Yes, for those of you still in the audience, we will be recessing, but only coming back to adjourn. Thank you.